Great. That sounds
So
great.
fun.
Well, and I see that it is time to start our show. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you on Channel 9 on WJOP LP Newburyport, Joppa Radio at FM 96.3. We're also live streaming on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube channel at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and I'm just delighted to welcome today's guests. Today we have representatives from the Newburyport Arts Collective here. And at the end of the show, we'll also have Vicky Hendrickson of Newburyport Adult and Community Education here to talk about their winter offerings. So today's show highlights the arts and culture of Newburyport, clarifying why Newburyport is such an exceptional and vibrant place to live and why I adore it. So first up, let's welcome members of the Newburyport Arts Collective. We have steering committee members and executive directors. Mark Clopton, director of the, John Moynihan of the Firehouse Center for the Arts is here. John, welcome and thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Mary.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And Dierdre Budzyna is here. She's director of Acting Out Productions. Dierdre, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
So happy to be here. Thanks.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, let's start out by talking a little bit about how the Arts Collective came to be. I know the pandemic, which has been going on for, I think everyone in the country, the world would agree, far too long, but it certainly had a challenging impact on art. So if you could start out by talking a little bit about the pandemic's impact here in Newburyport on the arts and how that impact contributed to launching the Arts Collective.
Certainly.
Whichever.
You want to go first, Dierdre, or want me to start?
Go ahead, John. You can start.
Well, I mean, I can, we shut down on what was supposed to be opening night of our spring show in 2020. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. They had gone through Tech Week. We had canceled the dress rehearsal the night before. And, we closed down on March 13th, 2020, which was going to be for a weekend, then a week, then a month, and then it ended up being 18 months until we reopened the doors at the Firehouse. We didn't get back to doing shows in the Firehouse in Newburyport. It was actually Acting Out, one of our first shows back, when they returned to the stage this October. So I mean, it had a serious impact on what we did and in what we've been doing for 30 years at this point. Presenting work inside at the Firehouse, using everybody's favorite word. It required us to pivot, and pivot we did. We started by partnering with the Spencer Pierce Little Farm in August of 2020, and we did the first ever drive-in musical theater where folks sat in their cars and watched live theater from their cars, like being in the drive-in movie, but with live people. And then we were lucky enough to continue to partner with the farm that October. And then we expanded it this past year to do a summer outdoor series at Spencer Pierce Little Farm, and then again at the Waterfront Park in Newburyport. And then we took the show on the road to Smolak Farms in North Andover. I also learned a lot of things I never thought I would learn. Video editing. I learned what type of video cameras we should be using. The Firehouse invested in high quality HD cameras to be able to live stream, which we did in the winter of 2021 when no one wanted to be outside to see theater. Yeah. So I mean, it required all of us to be nimble and to be able to kind of on a dime switch our thinking. But and I think Dierdre will agree to this. Without the support of the community, none of it would have been possible. I mean, the community stepped up in such a great way to ensure that the arts continued from March of 2020, now to January 20th, 2022 and beyond.
But I think, John, that's also a measure of the positive impact that you had been having for 30 years,
Sure.
that there was a relationship already formed with the community that has established your value, and that you were, already enhancing people's lives in such a way that you have to earn that kind of support.
Sure.
And clearly you had earned it. But it's interesting to hear you. People often will talk about the silver linings of the pandemic, everything from rediscovering nature, to what you've just described, which is an extraordinary impulse to have to find creative ways to pivot, to be nimble, to reinvent oneself, and to update your technology.
Sure.
So that's really wonderful. Thank you for that description. Dierdre, how about your commentary on the pandemic's impact and how it contributed to developing the collective?
Sure. I think we had a similar story. We were 2 weeks away from doing James and the Giant Peach and
Oh.
Rumpelstiltskin at the Firehouse. We had all the costumes, we had all the sets built in our garage. The kids were all off book. We were sort of in that sweet spot where you're just having fun with rehearsals. And, we said to both casts, I think we're going to do it. We might have to do it a month later. We were talking with John about switching our dates. And then fairly soon it became clear that we were not going to be able to do it in person. So my husband, John, God bless him, learned how to record large groups of children on Zoom. And let me tell you, I always knew he had the patience of a saint, but he really has the patience of a saint. So we recorded both shows. And, I think if there is a silver lining, there were several children in the cast who had grandparents who lived across the country. Two of the children had grandparents who lived in Europe who actually got to see the show, who wouldn't have been able to see it. So there definitely was a silver lining to that. In the summer, as John said, I feel like we have had this incredible support from the community. For us, it started with St. Paul's Church, and St. Paul's Church allowed us to build a stage in their backyard. And we did outdoor theater. Actor Studio did 10-minute play festivals. They did a story slam. We ran a 2-week outdoor camp where children did performances. The Performing Project, which we're also involved in through Actor Studio, they did a fundraiser. So we did theater in the backyard of St. Paul's all summer long. And I think, what was nice about it is people were so just desperate to see live theater. They were thrilled to be outside sitting in their chairs. And I was thinking about when John mentioned the drive-in theater, we went to see it, and somebody said to me, was the show good? Whatever that means, right? And it was. But I said, what I loved was just that we were there also, and it was exciting to see the ushers when you drove in. It was, I think we all just
anything
missed
that resembles
sort of
normalcy.
Right. So I feel like because of the community, we were able to do things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And, to answer your first question about the Newburyport Arts Collective, I think all of us were feeling like, how are we going to see our way through this? And in our own little silos, we were doing things to make it happen. But I think the Newburyport Arts Collective gave us a way to come together and advocate for the arts and say to the community, we're coming back, and here are some ways you can support us, and this is what's happening, and also to support each other. So, members, Fontaine Debuse, who owns the dance place, said, if you're stuck for rehearsal space, come use my space. Paula Esty, who has an art gallery, said, at night, during the week, we don't have a lot going on. If you need space, come use our space. So I think it was a way, and I think we've always been supportive of each other, but I think we really recognized how important it was that we all had each other's backs at a time when we really needed that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an inspiring story. And what I'm hearing from you, Dierdre, is that people, sort of a network began to form, with people actually reaching out to you, anticipating what you might need, and offering you space at a time when it was really necessary. So there were already kind of like little ripples of connection out there. And tell me how the collective actually came together then. How did you get the idea? You know, we could formalize this. We could have an organization. We could have a website. You know, how did that come together initially? And how did, and tell us about your mission as that clarified itself and your vision for what you could do.
Well, I think I would say, you know, one of the people who is the real driving force behind it was Dierdre Gerard, who is just an incredible advocate for the arts. And I think a friend and an advocate to many of us in the collective. So I think she saw both the need and the opportunity to do this. And I also think she was a little bit like a dog with a bone, right? So she would say, this is what we need. This is what we need to do. Here's our task. Here's our timeline. And, you know, I'm only going to speak for myself, but I do much better under those circumstances. So if she says, I need this by Monday, I will do it. If it's, we need it done sometime, you know, maybe I'm less likely to do it. So I think in Dierdre, we had somebody who was really in the beginning pulling us all together and continues to drive a lot of what we're doing behind the scenes. So I think that was partly how it started. And then I think we had a meeting. We got together people who we thought might be interested. We sent an email out. John was a big part of reaching out to a lot of different people and saying, let's have a meeting and just talk about what we need. So that was the beginning. And then John can talk about what happened next.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So John, what happened next?
Well, then we had a meeting. No. I mean, I think Dierdre hit a lot of the points right on the head there. It was exactly what she was saying. We were all working in our own organizations to drive forward, and this has been something that the Arts and Newburyport have been working towards for a long time. You know, as with all things, and as we're looking towards silver linings, as with all things, sometimes out of great tragedy comes great promise and great results, and that's honestly what this really was. We've been trying for so long as separate entities to talk about how important the arts are in Newburyport, and talk about how each of our individual organizations play an integral role to the culture of the city. And what this allows us to do is to have that one collective voice, where we're all coming together and saying, listen, we've heard this from us each individual, but now we're saying it together. The arts, and I mentioned this to you, Mary, when I was when you were talking about driving by the sign outside the firehouse. Right now it says, theater isn't flourish, it's fundamental, which is a line from the play The Revolutionists by Lauren Gunderson, which is what we're doing we're producing that in March. But I think, to put a little spin on that, it's more than that. Arts aren't flourish. Arts are fundamental. Arts are what make a community. Arts are what get people excited about living in a community. Arts are what get big businesses excited about making that their home. So I think one of the real benefits of us all speaking with this collective voice now is that we're stronger, and the message is louder. Because we're all saying the same thing, and we're all talking about, just imagine what Newburyport would be if in the 80s, instead of the firehouse being the firehouse, it had been turned into condos.
Yeah.
It would be a completely different landscape. So, and I think that's part of what we are trying to really talk about, is just the impact, not only financially, the impact that it has on the community, but also, and for lack of a better term, spiritually, what it has on the community. And I think I think that's the one thing or one of the major benefits of this group coming together has been able to really elaborate on that. And to Dierdre Budzyna's point, Dierdre Gerard has been she's a writer by nature, so she's been very good at being able to put our thoughts into words as a way to really help drive the whole collective forward.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful and so well put. And yes, that sign about the arts being fundamental, it grabbed my attention as I was driving downtown. And I think it makes a point. The arts are fundamental. And part of what I take from what you're saying is that the arts are fundamental. And when you join different artistic voices and groups together, it's, to use I'm sorry, it's a trendy phrase, but it seems to apply. It's a force multiplier.
Yes.
in grounding those fundamentals and spreading them and making them, and you use the word, a stronger community, which is wonderful. So, and I see we're able to welcome Mark Plompton has just joined us. Welcome, Mark. And Mark is the executive director of the Actor Studio. So welcome, Mark. We've just been talking about how the collective was formed and the really positive impact that the arts have on a community. And so, Mark, welcome. Perhaps you'd like to add a couple of your thoughts about the importance of a vibrant art scene to strengthening a community.
Well, sure. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Sorry I was late. Oh boy, my experience has been that forming the Actor Studio and drawing in people and developing it as a production venue where we began to need more people to help. There was such an amazing volunteerism, and people really wanted to be a part of it, and the community formed, and it's just such rock solid evidence of how art builds community. And through our many different companies and what they're doing, we've also built community by relying on each other's resources and help when we needed it and offering help when we could, and supporting one another. We've just watched the arts grow, and at the beginning of, back when we were considering buying the screening room right before COVID hit, I had so many people talk to me about why they chose Newburyport as a place to live. They'd just come up to me on the street or stop in the office at the tannery or in the parking lot and say, it's places like the screening room, it's places like live theater right in our own backyard that made us choose Newburyport. And so there is the bonding of the people who are directly involved in helping us build sets and do marketing and publicity and box office, and the shows themselves, the actors, directors, and producers. But there's also the community who comes and has come, in my experience over the last 30 years, with amazing, consistent loyalty.
Yeah, and that loyalty, I think, is a testimony to the hard work that all of your separate individual arts organizations have been doing over the years. And it is, Newburyport is a small city, but it's glamorous.
Right.
Because of the arts.
Right.
And for a small city, it continues to astonish me, like the literary festival, which I know is a collective member, but it's like, kind of like you have internationally best-selling authors be part of our community. One of my favorite things about Newburyport was the first fall I was here, and I've only been here. I'm a relative newcomer. I've had people on the show who are 12th generation Newburyporters. I'm a first generation, and it's been
Right.
about 4 years now. But I just adore Newburyport. But I was driving down High Street. You know, they have the Bartlett Mall Festival every fall. And there was a huge banner hanging over High Street at Bartlett Mall that said, food, beer, history in large letters. And where do you see that?
Right.
You see it in Newburyport. And so I think that that's just to highlight and underscore that people in Newburyport are a community very appreciative of the arts and very ready, I think, to, and I can tell from what all of you have been saying, to contribute and help support who are invested in their survival and the flourishing of the arts, to keep the arts fundamental. So there you go, John.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you for that, Mark. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you remind me of one thing, if I can add it. When I
Sure.
first moved here from LA, I was going to the Theater of Newburyport on Water Street, and just impressed with their work, and got involved with them and started doing some of their. They had a new works play reading program where they did stage readings of new plays with a talk back with the audience. And I got involved with that program, and I was just thrilled at the depth of knowledge and literacy of the audiences and the involvement of the audiences. It just grabbed my attention, and it has proven to be consistent all these years.
Well, and with your work and the work of the Arts Collective, that will continue.
Right.
So yeah, I wanted to ask you also, because I know you have a wonderful website, by the way, and we'll talk more about how people can find that at the end. But one of the things that becomes clear on your website is that part of your goal and part of what the collective, the power of the artistic voices together can do, is to promote Newburyport as a cultural destination, which certainly benefits everybody, both our arts community, cultural organizations, and local businesses. And I was hoping that you could talk a little bit about that part of your mission and your goal, about how you see your work promoting Newburyport as a cultural destination, and what maybe you've heard. I know the Chamber of Commerce is a member of the collective. So what are you hearing from some of the other groups or parts of the community about what they're observing as a result of the work of the collective? Whichever one of you would like to take that on.
Sure, I'll start and then people can join in. So yeah, I mean, I think we began in October promoting a fall festival, fall things to do in Newburyport that are arts related. And what was interesting to me is we were doing Spookly the Pumpkin outside at St. Paul's, and we were doing The Legend of Sleepy Hollow inside at the Firehouse. And I spoke with several audience members who came to see both of those shows because they saw it on our website. And I think that that's telling, right? You know, usually at Acting Out, most of our audience are parents, grandparents, friends, right? So it was exciting to me. And actually, when we did our outdoor fundraiser for the Performing Project, there was a couple, and I said to them, how did you hear about this? And they said, oh, we look every weekend for an outdoor activity that promotes the arts in different cities, and we saw this on your website. So I think that is a strength now, and I think will be an even bigger strength going forward. I know that just recently the Chamber reached out to all of us and asked if we'd like to be involved in a spring festival. And I think because we are a group, it's easier to come and say to a group, would you all like to be involved in a spring festival, rather than calling the Firehouse and Actor Studio and Dance Place and Acting Out. So I think the city is starting to see us as a group to go to. And I think that that's important in the same way that during The pandemic, I think there was a lot of support around restaurants and a lot of support
Yeah.
around downtown businesses and
Yeah.
making sure that they stayed open and stayed healthy.
Mhm.
And I think there is a strength in having a collective that people can support. And that doesn't mean that we don't have our own individual supporters. Certainly, I cannot say enough about the Acting Out families and how supportive they've been of us in particular. But I think the community needs to look and see Newburyport is an unusual place. It's unusual that kids can say, I want to be in a play. Should I do the Firehouse? Should I do Acting Out? Should I do Anna Schmalowitz? That doesn't happen in most communities,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think although the community is supportive, I think sometimes it's easy to take things for granted
Mhm.
if it's always been that way. And I think what
Yeah.
the collective does is says, look what we have in this small city. We have just
Yeah.
riches in so many ways around the
Mhm.
arts.
Yeah. Yeah, well put, and important to remember that the things we have, they're not built in. They have to be sustained. They have to be supported. They have to be fed and nurtured, watered, so to speak, like a healthy plant.
Right.
And so you make a good point. Yeah. And I like, it's interesting what you're saying about there's a convenience to having the collective too, because it means that people who might be interested in reaching out about an arts event or something they want to participate in, it's one-stop shopping, so to speak. Not the best metaphor, but you know what I mean. That you can you have you have a single outreach then can get a lot of different responses from people who are interested, and that's simply inevitably going to reinforce people for reaching out to you because it's efficient and effective. So, were you going to say something, John, about
Well,
that?
what I was going to say is, something about the whole all of us being together as a collective is really helps us drive the narrative about how much of an economic driver that the arts are, and it's something that I know at the Firehouse that I've been pushing for the past couple of years, and then when we all came together as a collective, we kind of adopted it as a collective. The Arts and Prosperity Survey comes out every 5 years, and they say that in a community with arts and culture, on top of their ticket price, each person spends about $35 additional at restaurants, hotels, downtown businesses, when they come to see a cultural event, or they attend a cultural event within the community. So in Newburyport alone, that's at
a lot
least
of money.
well, yeah, it's at least, if not a little bit more than $3 million going directly back into the economy, which is so so important. Not to mention the amount of jobs that the arts creates, full-time equivalent jobs and things like that. And just when we can have that voice, speaking collectively about that, it's fantastic. Into Dierdre's point about how she was saying that she had folks coming to see the shows at St. Paul's because of what they saw on the Arts Collective, what they saw on the Arts Collective website. It's been my goal in the 5 years that I've been in Newburyport, that when people are thinking of what they want to do for the weekend, they look for an arts and culture organization to go to frequent and to go see. And so now with the Arts Collective, it puts it all right there. So people can say, okay, I'm going to go to the Actors Studio on a Friday night. I'm going to go to the Firehouse on a Saturday night and then I'll go see I'll go to St. Paul's and see Display Pumpkin on Sunday, because there's always something arts and cultural going on in Newburyport. And I think that the collective website and us all coming together and working together to promote each other only helps us all grow and sustain. I mean, the line is that a rising tide raises all ships, and it couldn't be more true, especially in an arts community.
And also, I feel like what you were saying about the one-stop shopping, I mean, that's a big that's an important thing. And I feel like by being better organized, we're able to give the city a better, clear idea of what's coming up, so that they can be a better, more effective partner as well as the chamber.
Yeah. You know, and it all makes perfect sense, what you've done, and the way that there's a direct connection between the fundamental of the flourishing art scene, as well as a fundamental and flourishing retail and dining out scene, because what's more natural than dinner and a show?
Right.
I mean, it's the combo choice.
Right.
And a nice thing about Newburyport too is that the downtown area is very centralized, so it's easy to walk around to a shop before the show and then go to the show. And there's many restaurants around most of these locales. Even St. Paul's is easy to get to
Yes.
from the downtown theater scene.
Right.
So
Well, and I want to say too, you know, St. Paul sort of started it, but the People's United Methodist Church has offered space to actors. We're currently rehearsing Cats and the Shoemaker and the Elves there. City Hall has offered us space at a discounted rate. So I think there are lots of, St. Paul's was sort of the beginning, but I also think that's been an exciting thing that, you know, churches are saying, we have this space, it's used on Sundays. Why don't you, you know, I think that would be an interesting story. You know, how have churches in town sort of stepped up to say, use the space that's empty the rest of the week so that the arts can keep going.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, it's just a wonderful story, and I'm so glad that you're doing what you do. And I would like to give you the chance to talk at this point about, is there any particular winter programming that any of your organizations or any of your member organizations are doing that you'd like to tell us a little bit about, or direct us to information people can find on your website?
Yeah, we're doing an old-fashioned radio show at the Methodist Church on Purchase Street in February. The vintage scripts, along with the vintage advertising scripts, they're an awful lot of fun. We have our Women's Her Story Month programming throughout the whole month of March. Some part of that is also going to be at the Methodist Church and other places and online. So yeah, we're keeping it going. We have our February Story Slam coming up on the 19th. So yeah, we've got things going.
Great. Yes, and Camille Garrow with the Women's History Month will be on the show with some of the performers, no doubt. Dierdre, sound familiar?
Yeah.
That'll be the last Thursday in February that they'll be on, talking about upcoming events in March.
And we have two kids shows coming up. So we have the first weekend in February, we have the Shoemaker and the Elves, which will be at the People's Methodist Church. And then we are doing Cats, the musical, at City Hall. And my husband loves the musical Cats more than any person on the planet. And I have to say, the kids who are doing this, who range in age from 3rd grade through 12th grade, are loving it. And so anyway, so we have two shows. Both are happening the first weekend in February.
Wonderful.
Well, if somebody can find one bad thing to say about John Budzyna, I think that's got to be it. Cat.
You come, John Moynihan, you come to see the show. We'll give you a ticket. The kids are so joyous about this show.
No, it is a good show. My wife's a big fan of it. My wife's a huge fan. I've never been into it, but I do understand the draw of it.
It's one of those dividers among people. Cats, love it or not.
Exactly.
So anyway.
So yeah, at the Firehouse we have two shows coming up. We're going to be doing Next to Normal, which is opening on February 11th. And then we're doing the Revolutionists during Women's Her Story Month. It's a show that is about 4 women, directed by a woman, stage managed by a woman. during Women's History Month. So we're really excited about both of those
Yeah.
shows.
That's great. Well, and so as we come to a close, it's time to ask you to please tell people the address for your website, since we've been talking about it. How can people find it? And also, while you're describing that, if people want to learn more about or support you, what can they do? So who would like to take that?
All right, well, newburyportacting.org is our website address. And there are ways on that on the website to contact me if you want to get involved as a volunteer or in any other way. So go on the website, and that's the portal to both Acting Out Productions and the Actors Studio.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
And
Yeah.
then the Firehouse is firehouse.org. But then the Arts Collective is newburyportartscollective.org.
Mhm.
And that has all the information, ranging from our mission to upcoming events. And Dierdre Gerard will writes a monthly blog post at this point about some of the things that are coming up. And if you just click on the top there is a contact form right there. You just reach out, and we will be in touch about becoming a member. We are open to arts and culture organizations and individuals in Newburyport. We're really excited.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Mary, so much.
Oh, my pleasure. It's wonderful to talk to you. It's very exciting what you're doing, and we'll be looking forward to the Spring Festival. You were mentioning that, Dierdre, but it's something that I think it will be a tonic to the soul of Newburyport to have a Spring Festival to look forward to. And I know the Arts Collective and the Chamber of Commerce are collaborating on that. So stay tuned and check out the Arts Collective website for more information on that. I thank all three of you for taking the time to come on the show. It's just been wonderful to have you, and it's wonderful to have you being foundational in Newburyport. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best
Thank you, Mary.
of luck.
for having us.
My
Yeah.
pleasure, totally. So
All right.
thank you very much.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great weekend.
Thank you,
everybody.
and just keep us posted.
Will do.
I'm sure there'll be events.
Sure
though.
will.
We'll have you back. And
All
so
right.
thank you very much. And at this
Great.
point, then let's see if we can get Vicky Hendrickson on the screen. So let's see if we can get Vicky's image up and get her unmuted so we can talk about the Newburyport Adult and Community Education. I see that Vicky is here, but I wonder, Sarah, if you're monitoring, could you admit? There we go. Hi, Vicky. Can you hear me?
Oh, hello. Yes. What a treat to sit in with the, Newburyport Literary Festival and Newburyport Adult Ed are part. I think Adult Ed is not part of the Newburyport Art Collaborative.
But the Literary Festival is, because I saw the Literary
Yes,
Festival.
so we've
on
been
the
talking
collective
about what
website.
we wanted to do, and it was so great to see Dierdre and John, but especially Mark, because I know he's had a little health challenge, and boy, didn't he look great?
Yes, yeah, they all
so
look great.
I'm just
And they do
really
great
tickled. It
things.
was great fun for me to sit in on their
Wonderful.
conversation. Yeah.
Well, Vicky, I know that you always have a variety of intriguing offerings through Newburyport
Yes, we
Adult and
do.
Community
We
Ed.
absolutely do.
And
I just
know,
wanted to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I know that the pandemic has not stopped you. And, we were talking at
it has put a monkey wrench in things, I don't mind saying. Woo. And it's, but, speaking of that, my first thought is to all the people who have had to change gears, faculty and students alike, who, we thought we could be at the school, but oh no, we can't be at the school now. And right now, most of the classes are going to be at the school. Some teachers, if they have vulnerable health issues, or if, it's just, it's too complicated for them, then we are going to continue with Zoom for some classes, but many classes can be at the school. People do have to be vaccinated and they need to bring their little sheet that says they are. And
we all have the cards.
The card, and and also they have to wear masks.
Yep.
I mean, this is just so not just ongoing, but it's continues to be so dangerous
Yeah.
that, you know, we can't fool around with it, and we
Yeah.
can't, we just can't, period.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's the wise thing to do. Prevention
But
is
I
better.
just wanted to
Prevention.
piggyback on one thing that was brought up, and that's the churches.
Oh,
Because you know, the literary festival, I know I'm here to talk about an adult ed, but also adult ed, especially after the library no longer allowed us to have classes there. We went to the churches, and they were so receptive, so
wonderful.
kind. I mean, you know, there's a fee, but okay, so there's a
Yeah.
fee, they've got to stay in existence
Right.
too.
Right.
So you know, they really have been so welcoming, and so I was glad to see that the churches are getting other business, if you will, but also
Okay.
recognition for their hospitality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're part of what's kept us going.
Exactly.
So,
They absolutely are. And
Yeah.
and I think it's important to realize that they
Yeah.
have played an enormous role.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So we're appreciative of them.
yes,
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
so Vicky, tell us, what are some of the offerings?
Well,
Some
the
of the,
first thing that's going to be up, and we still have a few slots left if anybody has kids juniors in high school in particular, SAT prep for both
that time of year.
math and English are still available. So
Mhm.
I'll just get that out of the way first. You just
Mhm.
go online and you can get it done. Then the other most important thing for me is the ESL classes.
Mhm.
We try to have a registration night for everybody and get them to the middle school and determine where they are in terms of classes. Are they beginner, middle, advanced, whatever, and then try to find this teacher that's suitable for that group.
Yeah.
So that's an important part. And we have in Newburyport, it's kind of an exciting thing because we have more and more diversity every year. There are more and more people coming. We have a lot of Portuguese, or not Portuguese, but Brazilians who speak
Yeah.
Portuguese, and Hispanic, but then from all
Mhm.
over the world,
Yeah.
people are coming to Newburyport. So it's a very thrilling thing, I think, for us to this
yeah.
little white bread Yankee town.
It just
Now, okay,
enriches
so
us
we
all.
had some Irish. Okay, that's cute. All right, now finally we have become a little more international.
Yeah, let's
which
go
is-
global.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, not everybody is pale, which is
Right.
cute. I like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I just wanted to get those two
Yeah,
things
no, it's
out
important,
first.
and it's really good for people to know that that resource exists in the community.
Exactly.
So that's wonderful.
So I'm just going to talk about the lyceum classes to
Sure.
begin with. For people who might not be familiar with the lyceum, that those classes are our daytime classes, and they are more academic, really,
Mhm.
in their flavor than the evening classes. The evening classes are what I would call skill-based. So
Yeah.
how to blank, how to
Yeah.
write, how to read, not read, but maybe, but
Yeah.
how to write, how to paint, how to draw, how to speak Spanish, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But the daytime classes are a little more of a lecture series, although there's plenty of discussion. And so we have Rena Espaillat is teaching a class on, now Rena is 90 years old today. Happy birthday, Rena.
Who is such
90
a valued,
today.
such a valued local poet.
Oh, she's amazing. And
Yes.
she's still going 90 miles an
Yeah.
hour. Yeah, 90 miles an hour for a 90-year-old.
90-year-old.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so she's teaching a class on Anthony Heck, and he is not as well known a poet as others, but he's a little bit dark, she says. He's a little dark, but I really think he's brilliant. So,
So are the times we're living in, Vicky.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it seems
perfect
appropriate.
timing. Yeah, that's right. So then, and speaking of poetry, Paulette Turco is also going to offer a class on poetry, and it's over a longer period of time. Rena's is just a 1-day Zoom event,
Okay.
but anyway, so we've got some poetry, and then we have a writing poetry class that takes place at night. But genealogy is a favorite among many people. We have both basic and advanced genealogy, and Lisa Powis is the teacher, and she's remarkable. I mean, for people who are interested in finding out their family history, she's quite something. So I would certainly recommend those. From the I think White Fragility, I think, still has a few people in it. That's with Marion Levy and Marion Veazey. They are really advocates for exploring racial bias and understanding how you can deal with it within yourself, but also discuss it with others. And so that's certainly a worthwhile class is what I should say. And then so we'll move now to the evening.
Sure.
And some of the writing classes have filled up, but if people are interested, the writing workout, which is not the writing workshop, but the writing workout, is something that gives writers just exactly a time to exercise their skills and a time to, Elizabeth Rose is wonderful, and she gives prompts, and you just write to that prompt, and then people read, and some of them are so funny, but it's not something that you probably would use, or you might use it as the basis of something else. But anyway, it's quite entertaining. And then my daughter teaches a class on journaling. She's been journaling since she was in the 5th grade.
Oh, God.
She has written more books than anybody I know, journals. So, yeah, so it's cute. But she went to Columbia School of Journalism, and she's been a journalist now for Dow Jones for many, many years. And so I'm going to teach that. And then we have openings in painting and basic painting, which is primarily oils and acrylic, and then watercolor painting, and digital photography still has openings. The kayaking, well, those classes aren't going to start till March. So, I know one that's interesting that there's a few openings still in, and that's Bitcoin and crypto investing. I know. I'm going to take it. I know nothing about that. Do you know anything about it? Yeah, I have no clue what it is, but anyway, maybe I'll be able to determine what it is once I take the class. I'm not positive, but anyway, it's met with great enthusiasm. And then Outsmart Your Smartphone, which I'm also planning to take. Mine gets the best of me all the time.
We've all had that experience.
I know, it drives me crazy. Where is my little flip phone? So all the languages, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was going to say in a technology graveyard somewhere with all the other flip phones.
I know it. I know. I mean, technology is so ahead of my brain. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, also we have a bridge class for people who want to learn how to play bridge, which I don't get to play very often. I learned like everybody else, or many people in college, but it's so much fun to have a group of people that you can play bridge with, because it is, you do have to think. I mean, it's not so easy. All right, so then all the language classes, English, French, Italian, Spanish, and advanced Spanish are going to be starting next week. The Italian class will be on Zoom because the teacher's in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, so
It'll
too
be
much
very
of a commute.
Yeah.
Nah, I can't make that commute each week.
Yeah.
And then so guitar with John Travano's got some openings still. And I'm just looking for February. Oh, Kettlebells, which is, I don't know if you know Eunice James. Have you ever met her?
I have, yes.
She is a
and
hot
she-
shot.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yes.
I mean, she is something else. So yeah, so I think kettlebells and senior stretch, she
Yeah.
does both of those and she's terrific. And then we have elder care options,
Mm,
which are certainly important,
Yeah.
and estate planning, and the other two are going to be March classes. So I'll
Mhm.
talk about those later. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we certainly have enough to keep people busy. They need to get off the sofa and into the classroom.
That's right. Well, yeah, clearly, Vicky, you have something for body, mind, and soul.
Well, let's
So,
just
as
hope so.
always.
Yeah, let's hope that the response is good, and it has been. We have about
Good.
200 people so far
Wonderful,
registered, so
wonderful.
that's good. I mean,
That
it's
is
still
good.
down from pre-COVID. You know,
Yeah.
usually in the pre-COVID days, we'd have 300, 350 people. But
Yeah.
you know, there's just this sort of pallor that's been dumped on us all, and it's very hard, I think, to get up and get going, get cracking. You
Yeah.
know,
I think there can be a certain kind of inertia that
right.
settles
I
in.
agree with you. I agree with you. You have
And,
to fight it every day.
But
Yeah.
I think that's why it's wonderful to have both, both what you do with the adult and community education to provide fuel for body, mind, and spirit, and also my previous guest today, the Arts Collective, to be
Yeah.
able to provide
couldn't-
that kind of artistic outlet.
Right. They
keep the
couldn't have put this
community-
together at a better time. You're right, Mary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
So, and as always, it's a wonderful variety of courses that you offer. Something
Well,
for
thank
everybody.
you. Thank you. It's fun. And so yeah, we've had a good time. I'm trying to kind of ease into retirement. So I'm working with some people who are going to take over.
Oh, well,
So
good,
that's
because
good.
you're the linchpin for the adult and community ed classes, but also the literary festival, which is such a significant part of the cultural
Well, I
life of
mean,
Newburyport.
yeah,
So,
I'm trying to just back out now of those things, but people are coming forward to take over,
Good.
and they value the programs as much as I do. That's what
Yeah.
is so frightening.
Yeah.
When you think of leaving something, you think,
Yeah.
oh, well, who will do it? But there are a lot of people who can do it, and
I'm
and there are
thrilled
a
to hear
lot of,
people, they're stepping
yeah,
up.
yeah, they are, and you start to realize, you know, you're not the only game in town, kiddo. You know, there are other people who can do things.
Well, but in fairness, Vicky, I think people step up when something has had an impact on them. And you
Well,
have
that's
been the linchpin for both of those, which have become an integral part of the vibrancy of Newburyport and what makes people love living here. So I think the fact that people are stepping up is a testimony to the impact that the programs have had, that people don't want them to disappear. And so people step up and say, I'll work on it because it means that much to them. And that wouldn't be happening if it hadn't had the impact that you were the fuel that started that fire. So thank you for that.
well,
and I'm
thank you,
glad to
Mary.
hear.
That's very kind of you to say. Bless
So,
your soul.
well, thank you for visiting the morning show.
Oh,
to
it
give
was
us
great
a
fun. It was great fun, and I was
preview.
so glad that I tuned in early so I could
Good.
watch the others. Oh, weren't they great?
Good.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you,
Thank
Mary.
you so much. And thank
Thank
you,
you too.
Yeah, you're welcome. My
All right.
pleasure. And thank
Bye-bye.
you, everybody, for watching and listening today. I hope you'll join us next Thursday at 9 on Channel 9 for the morning show. If you missed any part of today's show, it'll be available for viewing on Port Media's YouTube channel playlist for the morning show. Go to ncmhub.org and click on the YouTube icon in the upper right-hand corner. Each show will also air on WJOP FM 96.3 on Friday at 8 a.m. and then again the following Tuesday at 4 p.m. and Wednesday at 3 p.m. It'll also be available as a podcast on the SoundCloud. Just go to ncmhub.org and click on the cloud icon in the upper right-hand corner and then scroll down to the morning show. Thanks, everybody. Take care. See you next week at 9 on Channel 9. Bye now.